Hi, this is what we'll have at the end of today's video. A beautiful homepage which I'm quite proud of, as no designer was involved. A bodacious discovery page to retrieve whatever is within a user's vicinity. I find this to be unique in a way as compared to similar apps I've seen on the internet. They don't have this TikTok inspired slider thingy, so I think it's pretty cool. And finally, we'll head over to the search page, which I enjoyed implementing. So, to pick up where we left off last time, upon successfully logging in, a user expects to be directed to some sort of homepage. Create the homepage file in the home folder, and in it, return a scaffold with the bottom navigation bar. We now want to match up the bottom navigation bar items, so for instance, discover to the view. Initialize the children variable, which contains instances of the views in the appropriate order. We make use of the current index variable to determine which view to display, and also for us to know which page is currently being shown. If a user taps on one of the navigation bar items, so for instance discover, the current index variable will update. However, the app will still keep showing the same view. So we make use of the setState function, which is inherited from the state class. This will cause Flutter to call the build method once again. And this time, the current index variable is of the new value, meaning the view displayed will change. And that's it. Our homepage should now be sort of functional. But to access it, declare the route in the route generator. So a reminder as to why we make use of the route generator is so that we can know which pages a user has visited in Firebase Analytics. Go to the login page and upon successful login, navigate to the home page. Likewise, we go to the splash page and do the same thing. This way, whenever a user opens the app, they will seamlessly be transferred from the splash page to the home page without needing to log in again to manually do that again. In the home folder, create the homepage view. The top level widget returned is a stack and not a scaffold. It's important to know this, since if we had to return a scaffold in the view, we'll end up with nested scaffolds because we have the homepage which is displaying this, which has a scaffold, and also the view again which has a scaffold of its own. So it's recommended by the documentation to have only one scaffold per screen. This page will be composed of slivers. And because of that, I'll be returning a custom scroll view as a top level widget. If you're new to slivers, I would recommend the following workshop to get you up to speed. By default, the scroll physics are platform dependent, so Android and iOS behave a little bit differently. However, being the chief designer of the project, I want the experience to be the same, regardless of the platform the application is running on. Add the sliver app bar, giving it a title with two icons which will eventually navigate to the search page and DMs. We have a row with a text widget and animated text for the luxurious feel. The text will alternate every 2 seconds. Pad the column on the x-axis. The reason I don't add padding for the entire screen is so that the flow of widgets, such as the carousel, is not hindered. Before we go further, I've noticed that if I'm to actually complete the Away series, I cannot cover every bit in video. So if there's a part you're interested in which is not in video, do feel free to check out the source code. Next up is the featured areas section. Create a featured area qubit where a call is made to retrieve the featured areas from the server. This method needs to be invoked whenever the homepage loads. As such, we call it from the initializer and pass the country code. The country code is retrieved from a public API. A potential update we could have here is to delegate the call to our own server, such that later on we might want to change the vendors of the API. The block builder widget reacts to the featured qubit. If the request was successful, get the areas and return a carousel with the items. The featured item widget is simply a stack with the image on the bottom and text above it. Next up is the promoted properties. The property widget starts off as a column consisting of the image and bottom text. The stack fit is set to expand so that it stretches to use up all the provided space. As with most images from the internet, we cache them for future requests. In the top right, I align the amenities available for the property. Later on, I will link it to the backend and put these widgets in separate files to keep the code clean. Next is the TikTok inspired page. It is made up of a stack with three main components: background image, property info, and contact area. The background image is set to cover the entire screen, and above it a backdrop filter to give it a frost effect. At the top, we wrap the location with a container and give it a frosted background, which reacts accordingly to the device theme. Just to put it out there, the design is not finalized, but this is what we'll be having at the moment. Next is the contact area. Start with a row that has a gradient pattern and another row with the owner's details. Later on, we could change the color of the verified icon such that maybe it's red whenever a user is not verified. Time for autocomplete. Go to the property remote data source file and create a method which accepts the stream. The stream is used to submit user input to the remote function. The search results are stored in a list. If we get a details response, it means the user tapped on the result and should break from the loop. We need to call the method from a qubit, therefore create the search qubit. The method takes in two parameters. If the place ID is null, it means the user is searching. However, if the query is null, it means the user has tapped on an entry. Declare and initialize the stream controller. Call the perform query method and ensure that it's only called once. Otherwise, multiple calls will be made whenever a user types and may mess with the results. With the logic complete, we can now start building the search page. Now, because this is a different page on its own, it's safe for us to return a scaffold here. We won't be nesting it. I'm not sure if I'm doing a little bit too much with slivers, but I like them. So even the search page will be a custom scroll view. As I want a fancy app bar, I'll use the Cupertino navigation bar, which is followed by the Cupertino search text field as a separate widget on its own. Whenever something is typed, we call the method in the qubit. An improvement that could be done here to reduce bandwidth and cost is to debounce the search. Create a block consumer which reacts to the search qubit. The sliver list feeds off the autocomplete results list. In the route generator, add the search page and provide the search qubit. In the homepage view, navigate to the search page when the search icon is tapped, and that should essentially be it all. I'll now reinstall the app and run it from scratch. As someone who mostly focuses on backend development, I'm quite blown away by this UI here. But maybe if you have an eye of a designer, then I'll be interested in hearing what you have to say, where this could be improved. And just for the sake of it, let's close the app and open it up once again. And just as expected, we go straight from the splash page to the home page. Thanks for making it this far into the video, and as always, I would appreciate your suggestions on how I could make these videos better or worth the watch, essentially. And this is, I think, the second time I'm recording this. First time I was on script and then I just didn't like the vibe of it, and this time I am a bit off the script. Yeah, let me know what you think and possible improvements, and until then,